Out of all the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games installments we have as of now, 3 of them, in addition to events, feature minigames, especially London. Boy, that one's got a lot. These minigames are a nice change of pace when needing a break from the regular events, and a lot of them are quite fun, almost as much as Mario Party minigames. So fun, in fact, that I've decided to rank them all from worst to best. I'll be judging these minigames with all the same criteria I use to judge Mario Party minigames. Yes, that includes concept, and like always, this is only my opinion and no one else's. Also, I will only be counting minigames from the home console versions of Beijing and London, and not the handheld ones. Alright, that finishes the intro, so here we go! 50. Boo's Treasure Chest. There are several treasure chests, hence the name, and the players take turns choosing one at a time. All but one of the chests contains a diamond, and if you get one of these, you're safe. But as for that last chest, there's a Boo inside it, and if you pick that one, you lose. Take a wild guess why this one's the worst. It's because it's luck-based, since there's no way of knowing what's inside each chest. As you all should know, I despise luck-based minigames. Moving on. 49. Bounce Ball. The player must bounce balls to their correct areas by tilting the Wii Remote side to side. You'll score a point for each ball you do so, and if you meet the point goal in the time limit, you win. But if you don't, you, of course, lose. And to spice things up, the ball goals can switch places. And also, Bob-ombs can fall, which, if they hit you, will cost you valuable time. If you're playing on the hardest difficulty, this one's too good a challenge, if you know what I mean. It's also just pretty boring. I don't hate it, but I definitely don't like it either. 48. Catch the floating sticker. Lots of stickers will fall down, which the players must grab. Most of them will be blanks, but some of them are actual stickers, which they'll be able to use in a London party. Basically the same thing as a coin cache from the Mario Party series. But since so many of them are duds, and there's no way to tell which ones are real before you grab them, this one, again, is luck-based. To be honest, the actual gameplay itself is pretty fun, but if you're luck-laden, your luck's a-fadin'. In a manner of speaking. 47. Whack-a-mole. There are 3 pipes, out of which Goombas and coconuts will emerge. The player, using a hammer, must, you guessed it, whack them. Each one you hit scores 1 point, and there are also other enemies, like bullet bills and flappers, which are harder to hit, but give more points. There are also Bob-ombs, which, unless you want to lose points, you'd better not hit. If you meet the point goal in the time limit, you win. And duh, if you don't, you lose. This one's just kind of simplistic and boring. Also, the name kinda makes no sense. You know, since you aren't actually whacking moles. 46. Shibuya Scramble Search. The Shibuya station's crawling with Mario and Sonic characters, and Luigi must scope around and pick certain ones out of the crowd. He must find 4 in total, with each one getting progressively harder, and if he can find all 4 before time expires, he wins. But if he can't find even one, he loses. This one does take close attention, but I feel it's a bit too hard. Some of the characters just look way too similar, and although I kind of like its concept, I also find it just a bit boring. If the time limit were longer, it might be better, but oh well. 45. The quizzes. Either Shy Guy or Omocha will ask the players questions about a variety of topics. Mario and Sonic characters, real-life Olympic events and competitors, and more. If you give the wrong answer, you score nothing, but the quicker you give the right answer, the more points you'll score, and the player with the most points after 3 questions wins. I normally like this kind of minigame, but what kills this one for me is the timer. I feel like it prioritizes speed over accuracy, which takes a lot of the fun out of it. Most of the questions are pretty easy, but for the harder ones, you're probably better off just picking a random answer right away. 44. Hyde Park Sticker Hunt. The players, using sensors, must run around Hyde Park in search of invisible stickers. When they get close to one, the sensor will light up, and these stickers, like in Catch the Floating Sticker, they'll be able to use in a London party. Since you can't even see the stickers, this one feels mostly luck-based, but like Catch the Floating Sticker again, the gameplay itself is pretty fun. There's not that much luck involved, but there is still luck involved, and we all know what a drill bit luck can be for any minigame. 43. 2-on-2 tag, pipe style. Just a classic game of tag. The 2 players who are it must give chase and tag the other 2 players in the time limit. If they do, they win. But if even one evading player can outlast the timer, they win. There are also pipes, which they must use to access other areas of the map. Sounds like a real bonus, huh? Well, not quite. Going through one pipe takes a bit of time, so it kind of kills the flow. If it wasn't for the pipes, this one certainly would have made it a lot higher. 42. Concentrate. There are several face-down cards, and the player must flip them over one by one, hoping to get 2 that match. Each time they fail to do so, they'll lose 1 heart, and if they lose all their hearts, they lose. But if they can find all the matching pairs, they'll score 1 point. This one takes both memory and luck. As I'm sure you can guess, I love the former, but I hate the latter. If luck is a significant part of any minigame, it would take a miracle to save it. Oh well, c'est la vie. 41. Tower Climb. Tails must climb up Tokyo Tower while watching out for obstacles, like bumpers, spinners, and spiked balls. If he can get to the top in the time limit, he wins, but if not, he loses. This one's pretty fun, just kind of simplistic. It's not terribly challenging either. Basically, it just feels like the sport climbing event with a fresh coat of paint, so the concept is pretty lazy. It's definitely not a bad minigame, but it could have been quite better. 40. Card puzzle. There's a lot of cards, which the player must rearrange to complete a puzzle. For each one they do so, they'll score 1 point, and they should try to score as many points as they can before time expires. This one's not too bad, just, again, kind of simplistic and a bit boring. I do like how it progressively gets harder, but just being challenging isn't enough. To be a great minigame worthy of top 10, you also have to be fun and have a good concept. Well, I guess there's no luck involved. That's something at least. 39. 2-on-2 icon matchup. Each player has their own spinning block, which they must hit at the right time to stop on a certain icon. The first team to do so scores 1 point, and the team with the most points after time expires wins. Not really much to this one, it just takes good timing, which I love in video games. Go figure. But like I said before, it takes more than just one thing to be a great minigame. I'm not saying this one's bad, because it isn't. It's just decent. And side note, it's a 2v2 where teamwork isn't really important. Doesn't that kinda defeat the whole purpose? 38. Coin collectors, shell game. There are coins everywhere, which the players must, collect. The player with the most coins after time expires wins. However, it's not that simple. The players can throw shells at each other, and if the shells hit them, they'll drop coins. This is where they start to get really fun. This minigame is fun and has a clever concept. It also keeps you on your toes. However, there's one thing that slightly holds it back. The arena has too much blocked off space. I feel like it would be a lot funner if it were wide open. 37. Hyde Park coin collectors. This one's kind of the same thing as Shell Game, only there's a Lakitu, who will throw not just coins, but also spinies, which, like the shells in Shell Game, will, if players touch them, make them drop coins. The players can also stomp and ground pound each other to steal coins from them. Additionally, this time around, there's no blocked off space. Again, the player with the most coins after time expires wins. This one beats Shell Game because it's both more fun and on toe keeping, and that's all she wrote. 36. Countmaster. The player must count how many of a certain character there are on screen, scoring 1 point each time they guess the right number. But if they guess a wrong number, they'll lose a heart, and once all of said hearts are gone, the minigame is over. This one requires you to pay close attention, and like most other Beijing minigames, progressively gets harder. But despite both those things, this one just kinda gets boring after a while. Also, the concept is nothing special, but don't get me wrong here, it's not bad, it's good, I like it. 35. Highway Tally. This one's kind of the same thing as Countmaster. Each player must count how many of a certain character there are on screen, scoring 1 point each time they guess the right number. But if they guess a wrong number, they'll score nothing, and the player with the most points after 3 rounds wins. This one beats Countmaster because it's a better challenge, and is multiplayer instead of single player. Minigames tends to be more fun when there are more players. The more the merrier, and not that it really matters, but the scenery and background are much nicer. 34. Voice memory. There are characters standing on a stage who will talk in a certain order. The player must memorize said order, then recreate it. They'll score 1 point each time they do so, and they should try to score as many points as they can before time expires. But if they get one wrong, they'll lose 1 heart, and once all of said hearts are gone, the minigame is over. This one requires you to pay close attention, and once again, progressively gets harder. And like you should know, I love memory testing games. But the concept is just eh. 33. Shuffle. There are 6 cards, one of which is different from the others. The cards will turn face down, then shuffle around. The player must keep track of the odd one out, then when the cards stop moving, turn it over. They'll score 1 point each time they do so, but if they turn over a wrong card, they'll lose 1 heart, and once all of said hearts are gone, the minigame is over. This one requires you to pay close attention, and, yet again, progressively gets harder, and the concept isn't all that special. I'm starting to think I have BRS, Broken Record Syndrome. 32. London coin collectors. This one's basically the same thing as coin collectors Shell Game. There are coins everywhere, which the players must collect. The player with the most coins after time expires wins. But the difference is, there are no shells involved. I actually kinda prefer it this way, because it puts more focus on getting coins rather than avoiding losing them. Still don't like all the blocked off space though. 31. Collect Shy Guys coins. This one's pretty similar to London coin collectors. The difference is, instead of the coins being dispersed out, there are a ton of Shy Guys who, when a player talks to them, will give that player coins. However, each one will only give coins out to the first player who talks to him, so it's first come, first serve. The player with the most coins after all the Shy Guys have been talked to, or when time expires, whichever comes first, wins. This one beats London coin collectors because the concept is pretty unique. You also have to put in more work to get coins. 30. Coin collectors, Spiny Shock, BRS time. This one's basically the same thing as London coin collectors and Shell Game. There are coins everywhere, which the players must... Do I even need to say it? The player with the most coins after time expires wins. But on today's episode of Coin Collectors, instead of Koopa Shells, or lack thereof, it's Spinies. These things are all over the place, and to make matters worse, there's a Lakitu, who will throw down even more Spinies. This one's the best coin collector game because it's a better challenge, since all the Spinies can be quite hard to avoid. 29. 3-on-1 tag. At first glance, this one may seem kind of unfair. The lone player's the evader, while the team is it. It may seem like the team has an unfair advantage, but whether that's true or not, this one's just really fun, for some reason. Who would have thought a simple game of tag could be so fun? Also, you might think that, like in the coin collectors, I don't like all the blocked off space, but in this case, I actually do like it, since in a game like tag, being able to take different paths can be a huge help. 28. 2-on-2 tag. Surprise, surprise. This one's the same thing as 3-on-1 tag, only 2v2, so I guess it's inherently more fair, and therefore more fun, maybe? Yeah, that's the only reason it's better than 3-on-1 tag. Honestly, I can't say much else. I mean, players can run, jump, ground pound, use items, screw it. Let's just move on. 27. Sumida Riverboat Ride. Mario and Bowser compete in a boat race across Sumida River. Bowser will get a head start, and Mario, to catch up, must go turbo and ride off waves, while avoiding obstacles like boats and Cheeps. If Mario can cross the finish line before Bowser, he wins. This one is really fun. And Penny, for your thoughts? Oh, how I do love racing games, racing games, racing games. I loves me some racing games. What else is new? I also just, for some reason, like the concept. 26. Vacant Lot Kiki Hunt. The players must run around in search of Kikis, and when they find one, tag it. The player to catch the most Kikis before time expires wins. As you'll see later, there are some other minigames like this, where you have to find and chase something, and in my opinion, this one's the worst of them, since Kikis seem to like moving around a lot, making catching them harder than it needs to be. But don't hear me wrong, this one is still quite fun, so I love it. Who doesn't love a good old wild monkey chase? 25. Shy Guy Tag, hence the name. This is another game of tag, only this time it's 4-on-4. The players must work together to chase and catch 4 Shy Guys. If they can do so in the time limit, they win, but if they fail to catch even one of them before time is up, they lose. I like this one for pretty much the same reasons as both 3-on-1 and 2-on-2 tag, but it beats those two because, like I said before, minigames tends to be more fun when there are more players. My severe case of BRD makes your ears bleed, doesn't it? 24. Go away, Boo. This minigame is very similar to Boo Tag from Mario Party DS. The players are in a small area with 2 Boos, who will possess 2 random players, who must then try to pawn them off on other players. If they don't do so within 10 seconds of getting possessed, they're out, and they're also out if time expires while they're possessed, and any player not possessed when time is up wins. Do I have an obsession with possession? Anyway, players can also stomp and ground pound each other to mess with them. While not quite as good as the aforementioned Boo Tag, this one is still really fun, with the very epic concept. 23. Tokyo Skyflight. Mario and Sonic are flying a plane across the skies of Tokyo and must shoot lasers to defeat enemies, as well as avoid their counterattacks before meeting Dr. Eggman in his Eggmobile, or whatever the hell it's called. Maybe Mobile? They must then do the same things with him, and if they can drain all his HP before he drains all theirs, they win, but if the opposite happens, they lose. Who knew? Side note, there are also rings that they can collect. This one's not only a blast, but also has a great concept. You start by taking out enemies, and finish up by fighting a boss. Classic Sonic boss levels, and I guess Mario too. 22. 3-on-1 Vacant Lot Tag. This one's pretty much the exact same thing as 3-on-1 tag that we looked at earlier, only you have a first-person view of the arena rather than an overhead one. This alone makes it not only more fun, but also more fair for the lone player, since the team players can't easily see where he or she is. They instead have to rely on the map to find out, making it feel a bit more like Manhunt than tag. You know, a combination of hide and sneak and tag, which I find way more fun than just plain old tag. 21. Get That Crown. This one's a classic game of keep away. It takes place in Hyde Park, and there'll be a crown, and the first player to grab it must run away from the other 3, who must each give chase and try to take it for themselves, which they can do by stomping and ground pounding. The player holding it when time expires wins. I always love a good, innocent game of keep away, and this one has a pretty clever and somewhat funny concept, and is also just plain fun. However, I might like it more if the player with the crown moved slower than the other players, since it would be a bit more fair that way. 20. 2-on-2 Tablet Tussle. This one's kind of the same thing as Get That Crown, only it's a stone tablet instead of a crown. It's 2-on-2 instead of every man for himself. The winner is determined by which team holds the tablet for the longest amount of time instead of when time expires, and it takes place at night. Yeah, that's totally the main reason why it's better. Additionally, since a stone tablet is way heavier than a crown, A, B, C, duh, and less wearable, players move slower when holding it, thus also making this one more fair. So with that, and everything I said before, this one is a much better version of Keep Away than Get That Crown. 19. Bullet Train Blast. Dr. Eggman's making a break for it on the bullet train, and Sonic must chase after him, avoiding obstacles like rocks, spikes, bumpers, pits, and machines along the way. He can also use items to make doing so easier. If Sonic reaches the train station before the bullet train does, he wins, but if not, he fails to win. Thought I was gonna say lose, didn't ya? This one is super fun with a pretty clever concept, and it also keeps you on your toes, watching out for obstacles. And I'm gonna tell you something top secret, so you'd better not tell anyone else. I love racing games. 18. Metropolitan Goal Kick. Metal Sonic's army has taken control of the Tokyo government building. Luigi must defeat them by stealing a rugby ball from them, then kicking it at Metal Sonic, who's at the top of the building, to drain his health. The better he times his kicks, the more damage Metal Sonic will take, and if Luigi can deplete all of his health before time expires, he wins, but if not, he does not win. Little curveball action. This one is, again, super fun with an epic concept. Honestly, it feels like Rugby 7s on steroids. 17. Vacant Lot Espio Search. This one is similar to Vacant Lot Kiki Hunt, only now you're searching for Espio. He, unlike the Kikis, doesn't move around a lot, but instead turns partially invisible. So while the Kikis are easy to find but hard to capture, the opposite is true for Espio, and I personally prefer it this way because I think it being easier to capture something is worth it being harder to find it. The player to catch Espio the most times wins. And side note, I prefer the nighttime aesthetic over the daytime one, which, I know, means a lot in the grand scheme of things. 16. Guard the Hyde Park Diamonds. The players are in Hyde Park with 6 diamonds, which they must protect from 4 Lakidus who will try to steal them. If they can protect all 6 diamonds for 1 minute, they win, but if a Lakidu gets away with even one of them, they don't succeed. Each player can choose to either carry a diamond and keep it away from the Lakidus, or stay on the lookout for Lakidus trying to steal ones that are on the ground. This makes this minigame quite a unique one, and on top of that, its concept is very clever, and it's also just plain fun. 15. Follow the flighty Lakidu. There's a Lakidu flying across London, and the players must stay with him until they reach the end. Along the way, they'll have to avoid banana peels and make pretty sharp turns, and if they fall too far behind, they're out, and anyone to make it to the end wins. Players can also stomp and ground pound each other to mess with them. Although the camera can be a bit uncooperative at times, this one is really fun and keeps you on your toes, and games racing love I. I know it's not an authentic race, but it still kind of feels like one to me. 14. Highway Chase. This one makes Bullet Train Blast look like a morning stroll. Dr. Eggman's dipping out again, but this time in a taxi on a busy road, and Sonic must give chase, avoiding banana peels and other cars in the process. There are also dash panels that Sonic can use to speed up, and if Sonic can hit Eggman's taxi 4 times, he wins, but if not, he is screwed. I find this one better than Bullet Train Blast because it's a better challenge, what with the time limit and greater abundance of obstacles, and it's 3D instead of 2D. The gameplay, not the graphics, obviously. 13. Point-based Shell Showdown. A good old-fashioned shell fight. The players are running around London with a first-person view and must throw shells at each other to score points. They'll score 1 point for each successful hit, and the player with the most points when time expires wins. Also, they have access to red shells, which home in on the first player they spot, and again, they can jump to dodge shells and stomp and ground pound to make opponents drop their shells. Open-world fighting games are always fun, especially when the arena is so big, like this one. 12. One-Shot Shell Showdown. This one's pretty much the same thing as point-based Shell Showdown, only it's one and done. More specifically, if a player gets hit by a shell even once, they're out, and the last player standing, or anyone still standing when time expires, wins. This one beats the point-based one because there's more of an urge to be careful and look over your shoulder, making it even more on toe-keeping and therefore fun. Another reason it's more fun is because there are no green shells, just the red heat-seeking ones, which I think was a smart change to make. 11. 2-on-2 Shell Showdown. Man, are we playing Mario and Sonic or some sort of shell game? Anyway, this one plays similarly to point-based Shell Showdown, only it's 2v2 instead of free-for-all. Also, instead of points, it's stamina, and if a team runs out of stamina, they lose. If neither team runs out when time expires, the one with the most remaining stamina wins. This is the best Shell Showdown because I always love teamwork-based games, and also the almighty nighttime aesthetic. If it wasn't for that, this would totally be the worst, I swear. But all joking aside, this one is mega fun. 10. Highway Goomba Hunt. The players are walking on a highway, which is rampant with Goombas. Like Goombas were made for, the players must give them the what for by stomping them. They'll score 1 point for each, and the player with the most points at the end is the winner. There are also huge pits that they can fall into, and if this happens, they're out for the rest of the minigame. Yes, I know we've all been Goomba stomping since our very first Super Mario game, but this minigame puts a clever and really fun spin on it. The slow pacing does hold it back a bit, but regardless, it still makes the top 10. 9. Highway Ring Collectors. The players are on the highway again, only this time they're running and must collect rings, and instead of pits for obstacles, there are hurdles, which they can jump over. If a player falls too far behind, they're out, and the player with the most rings at the end is the winner. And my BRS is rearing its ugly head. Players can mess with each other by stomping them. Yes, this minigame is kinda basic, but like my BRS has made me say hundreds of times before, some minigames are more fun when they're just nice and simple. I also like how the pace in this one is faster. 8. London Sightseeing Tour. The players are running around London with a first-person view and must find and run through 6 gates that are scattered across one half of the arena. The first player to reach all 6 gates is the winner. Side note, there is a map, but it will only show the gates' locations for a short time. Like I said before, I always love open-world games, especially ones where you have to explore. Basically, just a fun little scavenger hunt. I might like it more if the gates were scattered across the entire arena rather than just half of it, but no matter what, I still love it. 7. 2-on-2 London Tag. This one is just 2-on-2 tag pipe style without the pipes. The two players who are it must give chase and tag the other two players in the time limit. If they do, they win, but if even one evading player can outlast the timer, they win. But now that the pipes are gone, the flow is much better. Also, the arena is much bigger and there's a lot less blocked off space, so this one is loads more fun. And yes, the players can also use items, as well as stomp and ground pound, all to mess with each other. Man, these minigames seem much more no-holds-barred than the events. 6. Kabukiza Clash. The Kabukiza Theater is overrun with egg pawns, which Tails must defeat by shooting arrows at them. He must also shoot the spiked balls that they throw at him, since if he gets hit by 3 of them, he loses. He also loses if he fails to destroy all the egg pawns within the time limit. This one's extremely fun, and if you don't know how much I love shooting games, somebody must have shot you in the brain. How the hell did you survive? It also has a very epic concept. Honestly, it feels like the archery event on steroids. Put it in a rap song. 5. Stay on the hazardous highway. Basically, this one is highway ring collectors without the ring collecting. The players are running on a highway and must avoid double-decker buses and pitfalls. If a player falls too far behind or into one of said pitfalls, they're out, and any player to make it to the end wins. And on the off chance you're wondering, yes, players can jump and stomp opponents to mess with them. Is there a known cure for BRS? This one just really keeps you on your toes and requires close attention, and that's all I got for this one. I can't think of anything else to say. 4. Stay on the Marathon Highway. This one is the exact same thing as Stay on the Hazardous Highway, only the double-decker buses have been replaced by hurdles, which players can jump over, so now there's more of a reason to jump instead of just wanting to mess with opponents. So in my opinion, it's just a tad bit more fun and on toe keeping. And the scenery is really nice, and the music, and the concept, and, sorry, I can't think of any other little aspects to point out. I really wish I could say more, but I just can't, so do what you will with that dilemma. 3. Museum Sneak. This one takes place in a museum, and Mario must sneak around and collect keys, avoiding Bowser's minions in the process. If an enemy spots him, he'll have to start the floor over again, costing him valuable time. He must slowly and stealthily make his way up to the top floor to recover a miracle roll, and if he can do so in the time limit, he wins, but if he runs out of time, he is unsuccessful. Man, I need synonyms for lose like Mega Alakazam needs spoons. I know I've been giving slow-paced minigames a bit of crap on this list, but in this case, it's good that the pacing is so slow since it's a sneaking minigame. It's also extremely fun with an amazing concept, and requires close attention, and keeps you on your tiptoes. 2. Orbot and Cubot Tag. This is yet another game of tag, but this one is the best by far, and here's why. All 4 players are working together, and must avoid getting tagged by Orbot and or Cubot. If a player does get tagged, one of their teammates must free them by running into the cage that they're trapped in, and if all 4 players are untagged when time expires, they win, but if even one of them is in a cage when time expires, they lose. I think it's pretty obvious why this tag minigame is the funnest of them all, but not only that, it's also the hardest, since for one, Orbot and Cubot move significantly faster than the players, although the players can jump to try to shake them, and everyone, as opposed to just one player, must still be standing when time is up to win. 1. Treeside Rumble. There are Shy Guys running amok, and Tails must give him the old one too. Specifically, he can punch, kick, and do a rolling kick, and if he can defeat 60 Shy Guys in the time limit, he wins, but if he can't, he pierde, perde, make. My synonyms have evolved into other languages. However, there's more beyond that. The Shy Guys can counterattack by throwing spiked balls and bombs, which if Tails hits, they'll blow up and eliminate every Shy Guy on the screen. If Tails gets hit by any of these hazards, he'll lose health, and if he loses all of his health, it's over. Given how much I love fighting games, this minigame is Kiwamete fun, thrilling, and on toe keeping, with a Moto Kiwamete epic concept. Really, what's better than drubbing enemies like nobody's business? Nothing that I can think of. With all that, Treeside Rumble is easily my #1 favorite Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games minigame of all time. These mouthfuls are never going away, are they? So there you have it, my ranking of perpetual mouthfuls. For more videos like this, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Also, please check out my social media. All links are in the description. And Olympic, thank you for watching. See you next time. Mikoro Glyscore 472, out.